That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining. My name is Joan Strawler. I host the Ashburn Women in Tech group in Ashburn, Virginia, along with Gurleen Singh. Today, we are very excited to present Heather Black. Heather is the CEO of Supermoms, and she is going to speak to us today about how to stand out in the job market. I don't know how many of you have been exposed to Heather's work, but I have experienced it firsthand. I have attended some of her wonderful admin sessions on Facebook. I receive her emails, and I'm thrilled to have her here. I believe that Heather's doing a wonderful job, especially geared and targeted towards women in the marketplace and women that might be possibly changing careers. So Heather's been very kind and gracious today to give us her time to speak to you about how to stand out in the marketplace. Our agenda today will be pretty simple. Gurleen and I just want to say hello and welcome. We'll have Heather Black speak, tell you a little bit about herself and her various programs that she offers and how to stand out in the job market. And then we'll have some time for questions from the audience. And also, again, please fill out the feedback form. At the very end of the session, we will have a game. So if you fill out the feedback form, you can enter the game. And Heather, again, has so graciously going to offer up a free 30-minute resume review with the lucky winner. So please be sure to fill out that feedback form. Again, I already said this, it's Gurleen and I leading the group. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can link up with me on LinkedIn. And so you can with Gurleen as well. And without further ado, I'm going to hand this off to Heather Black, the CEO of Supermoms. I'll stop sharing, Heather, if you'd like to share your screen.
Oh, thank you, Joan. No, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much as part of our virtual Supermums World Tour. So we can truly be global. It doesn't no borders. With Supermums we accidentally went global. I didn't have that intention, and we just have had trainees join us from all over the world. So I do love the fact that we can be supporting and helping people wherever they are in the world with their Salesforce careers. It's really special, and it's great to be here today. I'd love for any of you to share in the chat about your motivation to be here today, because obviously the topic is how to stand out in the job market. It'd be great to know if you're looking for a job or if you're looking for your next promotion, just to gauge a little bit of where you are, so I can speak to that. I quite often call this same presentation deck how to accelerate your Salesforce career, because I think if you start doing all these things now, regardless of whether you're looking for a job or not, it's really about putting in and embedding a way of thinking and working that will just set you up for success generally. So please don't feel like the only reason to be here is, I'm looking for my next job. Actually, a lot of everything I'm going to share with you is about finding your zone of genius and about really being able to carve out your Salesforce niche, which is something that Joan was quite keen for me to sort of really echo, I think, on the session tonight. So it's around, taking away hopefully something tonight that will you can embed and start applying now, so it will support your career journey regardless of where you are on that. Just as a bit of backstory, before I bring my slide deck up, I might as well introduce myself without staring at a slide. But I sort of positioned myself for a Salesforce career back in 2011, and that was partly because I was planning to have a family, move out of the city, and I had implemented Salesforce for a non-profit that I was running at the time. And due to funding changes in the UK, the non-profit was starting to, the funding landscape changed, so we weren't really able to run the same programs that we had previously. So I found myself really thinking about what was it I was going to do next. And having used Salesforce for my non-profit very successfully, I felt that I wanted to help other non-profits benefit from Salesforce, and I did my research and did upskilled in Salesforce admin, advanced admin, and consultancy skills, which they did at the time, and relaunched my career as a Salesforce consultant, having I didn't even know what Salesforce was before I started using it in my non-profit. and I never used a CRM and never really thought I'd have a techie career. And so it's all very new. And I think that's what's special. You know, Joan was sharing your background and conversation. I think it's fantastic to know what people's backgrounds are before they became a Salesforce professional. So I ran a coaching company before. So we helped young professionals have business and career coaching. And so I knew how to run a business. I obviously had those different skill sets of running a business, but equally I did business coaching for entrepreneurs. And so that gave me a set of transferable skills that I could bring into the Salesforce ecosystem. So fast forward to me starting as a Salesforce consultant, I had to carve out and win work, right? Because I worked as a freelancer, I had to win my own work. I didn't work as a contractor for a company. So I was always having to make myself stand out in the market to find my next gig, if you like. And successfully did that for 2 or 3 years until the point that I had more work than I could accommodate myself. And that led me on a journey of growing the consultancy that I had set up to beyond me. And so I grew it to a point where we had over 20 consultants, and we worked on over 700 projects with 350 nonprofits over the time that I was running it. Really hard journey in many instances running a consultancy, because it takes you away from sort of the day-to-day job, if you like. But during that time, you know, I've worn the hat. I did the BA role, the admin role, the consultant role, the project manager role, the sales role, the marketing role. I think over the 8 years of running the consultancy, I've sat in every different seat because I've had to or needed to at different points of the company's growth. And I've had to interview lots of people who came, and I see what makes a great candidate and what doesn't. And certainly for the money that, you know, Salesforce professionals want, right? You're like, well, you want that much, but hang on a minute, you're not really presenting yourself in that way. So, you know, I've had to win work. I've had to win a lot of work and present well to clients to win a deal. Like every week I'd be rejected of not winning work, and win work because I did well. So I'm a very dab hand at you know, knowing what works and not, and constantly repositioning myself, but also being used to being, you know, rejected. It sounds a strong word, but, you know, not winning a job always feels a little bit like, why didn't I win that? But you constantly got to up your game. You constantly got to say why you're the best. You constantly got to put yourself out there. And you know, what I'm sharing with you today is what I've learned through having to win work every single week as part of a consultancy, from having interviewed lots of people and thinking you could do better at selling yourself, I'm sure, you know, and sort of being mindful of that. And we've now had over 1,000 trainees go through the Supermoms program globally, and over 75% of them have gone into job opportunities. And that's because we give them a lot of career coaching and employability tips to win their job. And it's fantastic. You feel like a proud mum seeing where they are now on that journey. It's very rewarding, but we really encourage them to up their game. And some of them are user group leaders now and presenting at Dreamforce and things like that. So it's absolutely fantastic. And as I say, that's everything that I'm going to be touching on tonight or today for you, nearly my evening now. You know, all those things I'm going to be sort of talking about today. So I will share, there's a couple of downloads and links to my LinkedIn, which some of you won't have seen because you joined later. So we'll reshare those at the moment. I'm just having a quick look through where you all are. And so, yeah, we'll reshare those links. And as we go through, or maybe Joan can go grab those links and reshare them for me. So let me bring up my slide deck, or else I will happily just chat. Oh, could you enable me for sharing my screen, Joan? It's just saying I'm disabled. There's a little.
Actually, I think Gerline, can you help with that?
I just made her co-host.
On the share screen tab, isn't it?
Right. Yes.
I'll be able to do that now, John. I just made. Sorry. You can. You're the co-host now, so you should be
Brilliant. Thank you. So let me just. I have to just click a few buttons. Let me just get to the right screen.
And I did just share Heather's link again in the chat. If you missed that earlier, please have a look at it and connect with her on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so I've done my little intro. I mean, we did win. I was proud to win the EMEA Partner of the Year award for the consultancy after 9 years of running that. I don't run the consultancy anymore. I closed that down. We really was hit by the pandemic quite significantly in various ways, and I had a lot going on personally. And I think, you know, sometimes you just can't do everything, right? So Supermums was the thing that continued, and I focused my time on, and I got the Golden Hoodie for the work we do with Supermums and non-profits. So there's various ways you can get involved in Supermums. You can obviously follow it on LinkedIn, but we run various training courses in admin, marketing cloud, and consultancy skills to help accelerate your career. If you are already, you know, nailed all those training, you can become a mentor. So you can mentor other trailblazers coming through. We have a fantastic amazing group of mentors that have worked with us for many years, actually, but we doubled our cohorts of trainees from last year, so we need more mentors. So if you want to help out, we'd love to have you. If you can hire our talent or you want to sponsor our programs, we'd love to hear from you as well. And we do offer coaching support if you need any of that. So that's ways that you can get involved. We have a team and training in USA time zones and based in the US as well as EMEA. So we are truly global in what we do. So let's go through to thriving in a Salesforce career. The first thing we're going to talk about is defining your career ambitions, having those staple consultancy skills that I'm going to talk about. We're going to then talk about raising your profile, and then we're going to look at CV and interview tips. So as I say, a lot of these things you can start thinking about and embedding now, regardless of whether or not you are looking for work. I think it's just really important to feel motivated, empowered, energized in your job, to feel like you're being fulfilled, and sort of, you know, to work through that. So let's have a look at the first topic around defining your career ambitions. So having a career path is something that I encourage our trainees to think about. You know, as I say, I've worn various hats. You don't have to step into one job role. It's great to think about, you know, an experiment with those different job roles and to find where your niche really sits and what you enjoy the most. I think there's, I did a parenting, a quiz about which job role suits you based on your parenting style. So obviously it's more aligned to parents, but it's really funny to see that there's 4 different types of parenting styles, and each of them align to a different type of job role in the Salesforce ecosystem. So, you know, you can definitely sort of think about, well, what are my skills and attributes and which job roles suit me? And if you like a blend of those things, then a Salesforce consultant certainly lends itself to having, you know, enjoying a blend of different options available there. So what I encourage you to do really is to explore your potential. Think about the different job roles that you'd like to progress into, find out what skills and experience they require, so then you can start planning and working towards it. It's quite it's normal for people to change jobs on average every 2 years in the Salesforce sector. Now, that might be within the same company. If there's a promotion opportunity, it might be moving to a different company because people want to develop themselves, develop the products they're working with, develop the industry knowledge, develop their salary, clearly. And so you want to think, well, what is it I need to get to where I want to go? And that's the first thing that I really encourage every, you know, person to do, is to think about that career path. So you know what certifications you need to go for, what other softer professional skills you need to get. And you might learn that by obviously coming to events like this, podcasts, events, talking to people. So start to create that vision for change. And that gives you that action plan of where you want to go. So moving on to this second point really is you want to be setting goals. And this is my career coaching hat coming, because that's what a career coach would say to you, is what is your, you know, what are your goals? What's your reality right now? What are the opportunities to develop? And what will you do? That's what GROW stands for. Goals, reality right now, your options available to you, and what will you do to get there? So off the back of this, you might find it useful to write down your goals and to assess that progress that you need to make against what you're, you know, where you want to go. So you can coach yourself on this journey. Personally, I have always invested in coaches that kick my ass, quite frankly, because otherwise, you know, particularly as an entrepreneur, nobody's really on my back going, come on, right? What are we doing? You know, it can be very easy to be complacent and kind of, you know, meander along. Whereas when I get on the phone with my coach, she's like, right, come on, what we doing? You know, and, you know, really will quiz me and sort of get me fired up. And I always feel like I've taken you know, recharged my batteries after I've had a coaching session to keep me on track. So I've not always had a coach. I've invested in coach at various points where I felt like I really need it, you know, to get that momentum. So you might want to explore career coaching. As I say, it's something that we provide at Supermums, or you can find somebody through another avenue. The next thing to get really clear on is to have a life you love. And another presentation that I have delivered for WIT groups is around the ambitious women mindset. And I think what's really important around having this ambitious women mindset is that you understand the balance that you need and how you best work, and to find a company that can support that work-life balance that you need, and you're not compromising on that. One, it's about the company and their culture and how they work, but two, also one of the biggest things I've found and I had to, you know, work on and fix was my own boundaries, right? My own failings to manage my mindset, and to have those boundaries, to make sure I recharge myself through things that do that, to make sure that I stop working and carve out time. But equally, if I'm not performing, to go, what do I need to do differently, and to train up or get better at something, because I can spend all this time feeling like I'm failing and not getting there and working all these hours, but actually I need to learn something and do something different that's going to hit those performance goals better. And I need to focus my time on the things that's going to make the most difference. So I want you to get really clear on what the balance looks like, and to look about whether that's something that the employer is able to support or not, or if it's something that you need to shift in your mindset to help you have a life you love. So, you know, you're not always the yes person. You can say no, you can set boundaries, you will recharge yourself, and everything around that. And then the final point on this slide is about creating your success. It's about developing your skills, your network, your profile and reputation as the go-to expert. So we're going to delve deeper into this as we go through this presentation today. But that's ultimately what accelerates your Salesforce career, is becoming known as the go-to person that you're really good at X, Y, Z. And so carving out that niche a little bit for yourself and starting to raise that awareness, because that makes you in demand, you know, within the marketplace. So next I'm going to talk about the staple consultancy skills. Now, when I started out as a Salesforce professional, I was, you know, I learned the technical skills, but I realized that actually a lot of these softer professional skills was what was needed on a Salesforce project. So I have got a quiz. Again, Joan, perhaps you can share that, because I put the link right at the very beginning when there wasn't anybody in the room. There is a quiz you can do that allows you to benchmark where you are on these skill sets right now. So if you were managing or leading a Salesforce project, how confident are you on a scale of your business analysis skills or your change management skills? So I'd love, you know, if this is an area that you want to assess, I'd really sort of encourage you to do the quiz. It's a document you can download, so you can do it in your own time. And, you know, start to think about, is it something you want to learn more about? Is it something that you want to develop further? You know, is it something, you know, you want to feel more confident in? I think to develop your Salesforce career, these skills are part and parcel of that. It's not just the technical element of it. And they all are very interlinked as well. So I think it's very hard to learn one without the others being involved. So if I was, you know, if I talk top level about this, really in terms of how they interlink, and the way that I see this is that if I go into a workshop with a customer and to discuss their Salesforce requirements, I need to be able to know what questions to ask, and I need to know how to document all of those requirements effectively in a coordinated way. So on our consultancy skills program, we share a lot of templates and techniques. We share all the questions you might ask. You know, that's the position you want to be in when you go for an interview. You want to be saying at the interview, this is how I document requirements. This is how I do process maps. These are the questions I ask. You want to put a really professional approach forward. That's how I would win my jobs, right? And that's how we would win work as a Salesforce customer. So you want to be able to show and demonstrate your approach to business analysis, as say how to document, how to ask questions, and how to formalize everything. Now, what happens as part of that process is that I facilitated this workshop to gather requirements, and I had like this guy that kept heckling, that was really negative, that kept dragging everybody off. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like how do normally I'm used to people being really excited about Salesforce. But I was like panicking, going, this was like my 4th gig as a consultant, right? Surrounded with a senior management team. And at this point, I was in my early 30s, and a lot of the people in the room, were more mature than me. And I'm thinking, oh crap, what do I do here? And it led me to that approach of going, right, how do I deal this? How do I facilitate people through a change management process? How do I understand where different stakeholders are? When I'm facilitating a workshop, I'm going to have people who are anxious in the room. I'm going to have people that might be angry in the room. I might have people who are excited in the room. But somehow I've got to bring everybody on this journey of change, and I've got to get their buy-in. And I realized that I needed to know how to tackle that again in a professional way, not I can't say the word, in a haphazard way. I needed to be, well, how do I do change management? And so I went on a week-long course to understand change management. And with that, I came away with lots of tools and techniques that I could do. And I formulated that into a very clear structure, because we learned lots of theories. And to be honest, it was like, oh my God, well, how do I use all of this on a project? So for me, I had to go away and write out the formula for a Salesforce project. So it was kind of like, right, this is what needs to happen at this stage, at this stage, at this stage. So when I teach this, I talk about the 4 key pillars of change management. And these are the tools and techniques that you use at different parts of that journey. But what it allows you to do with change management is anticipate your different stakeholders, understand the culture of the organization and how you should approach business analysis. Because if you're working for an organization that's quite top down, you need to take a different approach to business analysis, as opposed to if an organization is grassroots, like up, quite organic in its approach. So with a top down, what I mean by that, is the management want to enforce a change. They're going to make the decisions. They're going to tell everybody how it's going to run, and this is going to happen. So your business analysis approach is very different, and that can have its implications for sure. And so you need to go, well, how do we manage this with stakeholders if we're forcing them to do stuff? Because it's a lot of stick rather than carrot approach. In that way, you need to sort of think about that in a clever way. And so then you need to think about motivational, how do you get people engaged and motivated if it's a top-down type organization? The other approach, which also has its implications, if I was, there's 4 different organizational cultures. If I take it to the other extreme, you might have end users that really want the system. And that's great because they're involved in the design and they're really bought into using it. But then the senior management aren't using it and they don't care about it. So then that has other implications, right? So how do you manage change and get the senior execs on board and upward manage the senior execs? And so when you do the business analysis process, you need to sort of really turn that on its head and do business analysis in a different way to make sure, again, you're engaging different stakeholders from the C-suite, the center of excellence, making sure they've got a center of excellence set up, and that the end users are supported. Because what happened in an organization that I went into, to basically, £2 million have been spent on the Salesforce system. The C-suite were not engaged at all, but the end users were using it. But because it didn't have senior management, it was very used in a haphazard way, and it had all basically like fallen apart. And I had to go in and investigate who used it, why it was used, how it was used, to basically convince the senior management that it should still be used and there was some value in it. And so change management for me is an absolute core discipline in how you run on a Salesforce project and how you engage stakeholders at whatever level, depending on the culture of the organization. So it's really, really important to embed that and integrate it. And then the next one here is agile project management. So with agile project management, it's a way of prioritizing things, because I have never, ever been in a workshop where they've come out with a list that will fit within the budget and time. Never. It's always gone over, because part of that is our fault, because we get them excited about all the possibilities, and then they end up with this 100 wish list. You think, oh God, there's not enough. So you need to hold that conversation with the stakeholders to say, so we've got 100 things on this wish list. How are we going to prioritize it and like really knuckle them down and have a process to do that with them? So you want to educate and train the client on agile project management. You need them to be trained on it so they know and understand it and they buy into it, because if you don't do that, they'll say, what do you mean I can't have everything? Well, I thought you were going to do everything for us, and then you're in trouble. Having experienced that one as well. And so you need to make sure that they are aligned with a process that is about whittling down their 100 wish list into a reasonable wish list that can be fit within the time and the budget they've got available, and that there's a clear business reason for everything that they're doing, and that is evidenced in an ROI, or else again that can sort of have challenges. And with project management, it's about making sure that all the stakeholders are also held to account as to what needs to be done by what time to keep it in track, because one of the biggest challenges of Salesforce projects is they go over time and budget, because there isn't a clear project management process of when things need to be done by who. There isn't a good project management system. There isn't that accountability. So again, I've felt all the pain points after all these years of running a consultancy. And it was funny, in those final months, actually, I wrote this risk log, and I was like, why didn't we have this before? But sometimes you can't write a risk log unless you felt all these risks in the real life. So on our consultancy course now, I share these 22 risks. I'm like, this is everywhere that a project can go wrong. And I pretty much guarantee that a project will go wrong against all of these areas. It's to do with business analysis, change management, and agile project management, where a project will go wrong if these things aren't done properly. Very little to do. Data integrity, data import and export is the only thing that I put on the extra thing there. So I share like these 20 risks where you can mitigate them at the outset if you kind of discuss it with the client, they know what's needed and everything else. So if you can, have understanding of all these disciplines, you can communicate at your job interview and for jobs with promotion, because the higher you get in a Salesforce career, the more that they will expect you to have these types of skills. The better you'll be. And if you have what I found was what's the word, what's going to make you really stand out in an interview is you can share templates, tools and techniques and evidence of how you've done this before. I felt it was always a letdown if I was interviewing people that wanted, really good salary level, but they couldn't evidence any of this, or they didn't have a formula of how to do it. It was all a bit sort of, I suppose, random or made up. And so it's very important that you can evidence, how you've done this before, what it looks like, and you have a formula, because as a professional person, you want to be showing that you have a professional approach to all of your projects. So if you take the quiz, it will allow you to sort of see where you are against those different skill sets right now, but it also makes recommendations of where you can be, right? So it kind of gives you that benchmark for those SMART goals that we talked about earlier, to see, well, that's where I want to get to. So moving through to raising your profile. Any questions so far? Sorry, I may take a little pause there. Any questions?
I have a question. Is the quiz, I saw the, okay, we did post the free quiz. Okay. Just wanted to make sure about that. So that's it. And I'll repost that link again. Anyone else have any question? Guess not. Thank you.
All right. I hope you're taking lots of notes. We'll share the presentation deck out to you anyway, so you've got that. So how to raise your profile. So we've gone through the journey of, where do you want to be? What skills do you want to develop? What's your passion and interest? And at this point, the first thing is to write down your passions and ambitions and get it down on a piece of paper. We don't do that enough either. We kind of think about it and we're floating around our head, but writing it down is very powerful from a coaching standpoint. Write it down, write down those goals, get clear on what you think your future looks like and what that might bring you financially. you know, and what that will give you for your family, or, you know, for whatever else sense of satisfaction personally. You have to find the motivation to do this, or else the likelihood is you won't do it. Now, once you've decided on your passions and ambitions, you know, for me, for example, I have a passion about helping women into work in the Salesforce space. So, you know, it's not, I'm very happy to support broader than that. We absolutely have more people than just women on the program. But there were 3 reasons why, you know, Supermoms was set up about mums specifically, is that women returners have a lot of challenges. We need more women into tech. Gender equality and pay is a key issue. And I've got a big thing about particularly single mums, as I am, having that financial resilience and support as well. So you've got to find the thing that sort of ticks your box. You might have a passion for flows. You might have a passion for the new AI. You might have a passion for marketing cloud. You might have a passion to help certain groups like I do with mums. Decide on what it is that you kind of really want to build your profile around, and then decide on your favorite medium to do that, and upskill in something if you need to as well. So don't feel like, you know, tomorrow you can decide to become this AI expert. You know, do it, learn it, become then the person that starts sharing their story of this learning. So you don't have to be the expert, but you can share that you're on this journey to becoming an AI expert and you're doing all these trailheads. So, you know, you can start this journey tomorrow, and you can share things on LinkedIn, you know, or Twitter, or X as it's called now. You could do internal speaker events at your companies. You could write some blogs, and maybe you could launch your own blog, as some of our Supermoms alumni have done very proudly. Or you could write a blog that you could submit to Salesforce Ben, for example, and get something out there. You could contribute to a podcast. You could start your own podcast show. You could do a user group presentation like I'm doing tonight. Or you could just start presenting at client meetings or delivering training on it. Start in a place where you feel comfortable and start building. Then start pushing your boundaries a little bit and do things that make you feel uncomfortable, you know, like learning how to do podcasts. If you're not sure with social media presentations, get training in it. I did training in presentation skills. I've done training in podcasts. I've done training in, you know, media, you know, so don't feel like you have to be, oh, I'm not good at that. The thing is to start building your confidence with it, access and pay for some training, because if you want to build your confidence to present in front of people, you know, whether that's clients, whether it's management, whether it's, you know, at Dreamforce, you know, investing in training to help you with that can be amazing. But, you know, as they stick with perhaps your favorite medium to start with to make it easier. The third thing is to recognize your contribution to people, because you can deliver all these presentations as I can tonight, and we can all walk away and I'm sat there going, oh, did they find anything useful? And so I will ask you, I don't always sometimes forget to do this myself, right? And this is the thing is, you know, can you give me feedback afterwards? I'd love to hear your feedback, what you found useful. So if you deliver a presentation, ask people to give you feedback, ask them for testimonials on your LinkedIn, connect with people on LinkedIn, hence why I encourage you to connect, and appreciate the attribution. So we can all have this little gremlin on our shoulder that always tells us we're not good enough, or I didn't do this right, or I didn't say this, and, you know, we beat ourselves up for you know, which isn't relevant really. We have to go, actually, you know, it's great to hear back from people about what they valued, and it, you know, and to ask people to keep you updated about, you know, well, tell me how you got on in 6 months. Like if any of you land a job through changing something, I'd love to know. So recognize and accept the contribution that you're giving to people, and ask them for feedback, because if somebody writes to you and says, you know, really enjoyed that session, I really got this from it, that's going to boost your confidence. But unless you sort of ask for it quite often, you know, people might not do it. There's some people out there that are amazing and will always sort of just give you that feedback potentially, but otherwise you don't know. And the final thing is, you know, to pursue your goals. Obviously, again, motivating yourself. You know, what does success look like? Is it business growth? Is it career progression? Is it salary progression? Is it other rewards? Now, a very simple thing around this is I've encouraged, I did a social media challenge with my team this week, or, you know, the next couple of months or so. And a couple of them have started this week to say, right, I want you to share some tips about what you teach every day. Every day they're sharing tips with our trainees. Let's get that on social media. Let's see how many followers you get. Let's increase your following. Let's increase your exposure. Let's see, people's feedback to that. And so simple goals could be about raising your awareness, building your connections, building your followers, but equally it could then lead to, let's say, people approaching you about job opportunities or new work, or you getting that promotion, you becoming the go-to expert. So all of this sort of leads, into each other really of where you are. So I want you to feel really proud of what you're doing, and, to sort of, to stand out at interview with everything that you're doing. So let's talk about standing out at interview. What makes it a success? So study, things to put on your CV, make sure you've got your trailheads on there, put your certifications on there, but also include certifications that you're working towards. So, don't just feel like you can't put it on because you haven't got it yet. If you're working towards a business analysis certification or whatever it is, put it on there to show that you are progressing and working towards it, particularly if they're certifications that are relevant for that job. And then start doing some trailheads around it, because that would obviously position you. So don't think, oh, I haven't got that cert, I won't apply. Add it on. Showcase your portfolio and what your portfolio of work looks like on your LinkedIn profile and on your CV. With portfolio, I'd really not just talk about the technical work you've done, but the business value that you contributed to that business. How did you help it grow and develop? What was the ROI around that? And then talk about your methods of study. How did you study? Because I think that shows the quality of training that you're accessing, and the number of hours of study that you've done shows, the effort you've put in. So, for example, people who do our course spend 16 hours a week studying over 6 months. There's a lot of in-depth study there, which would stand somebody head and shoulders above somebody who's just done the trailhead modules, for example. So, it's good to sort of talk about the study process that you've taken. The second is customer success. So if you've asked for feedback from doing these things, you can get LinkedIn recommendations for the work that you've done. Don't be shy about that. Do your customer success stories. Talk about how you helped transform a company's sales process and it helped them increase their sales. Talk about how you've improved their marketing product and it's improved their marketing results. You want to talk about those customer success stories with clear, tangible benefits to the business, because a business affords your salary, your promotion based on the business value that you're giving, right? So you've always got to put that in context to say, I can help your business make more money, be more efficient, make employees happier, which is obviously good retention, and to be really clear on the business financial value that you're having in one way, shape or form, because that's the justification for the salary that you'll be asking for and the promotion. The final thing around customer success is being able to demo the work that you've done. So if you've built something out, if it's in a sandbox or a dev org, do a demo of that, record those demos, show people what you're capable of building. Quite often people have come to an interview with me and said, oh yeah, no, I've done a Sales Cloud implementation, but they've got nothing to show for it. They can't show me what they've done because they've left that last company. And obviously they can't log back in, whereas if you can do a show and tell of a demo that you've built, then that's amazing, because you can see all the skills and you can take me through it and show that you understand all the bits of the Service Cloud or the Sales Cloud. So it's really great to showcase those demos where you can. The third angle is the values. So based on the company you're approaching, how can you tailor your CV and covering letter to align with company values? How can you show that you share those values? How can you communicate your needs? And sharing how you help others. So if you are volunteering, mentoring, giving back, speaking at events, that all speaks volumes, and they're going to love you for that as well. So share your values in an interview, and equally check that you know, most importantly, that you align with the values of the company as well, because that's going to make you happy. And then finally, talk about the support you access. A lot of people like in interviews knowing that they can access support from you, that you are accessing support and you're not isolated. As a Salesforce professional, you are never going to know the answers to everything. There's always more to learn. You'll always feel like you're not good enough. You know, there's always more certs to do. So who do you call on for support? How do you use the Salesforce Ohana? How do you get answers to your questions quickly? Do you need a mentor? Have you got a network? Have you got a trainer? Have you got a friend? Have you got a coach? You know, talk about the support environment that you have around you, and ask for support where needed. Ask for additional training. Ask for a mentor if you want that in your job role. And, you know, make sure that you've got that right support in place, because as I say, that's going to help you deliver in that role. And they see that you're not, you know, not going to sit there and feel concerned, overwhelmed, stuck, you know, because you haven't got access to all of that. And these are things that I've heard from feedback, from interviews, from employers, and people going, that really make people stand out from the crowd in terms of that. So in summary, success is about having that positive mindset. It's about having passion for what you do. It's about writing it down and visualizing it and having it tangibly in front of you. It's about believing that you can do, but there's a lot of action that you can take, and share lots of things you can do tonight. You're not all going to do it tomorrow, but I'd like you to think about what actions could you take based on where you are right now that's going to help you accelerate your career as you go through. So that leads me to the end of the presentation. I hope, you know, I'd love to know from you what has been like the takeaway comment, the takeaway tip for you. Is there anything in particular any of you feel like you want to take away and sort of put into place? Any questions that you have?
Feel free to come off mute and ask a question or make a comment, and I'll go first. Number one, I love the GROW. Would you go through that again, the GROW? I love that acronym.
Yeah, sure. So GROW is G for your goals, so writing down your goals. For each goal, you want to think about your options. What are your options to achieve that goal? Then you want to, realities first, R. So R is your reality. Where are you now against that goal? O is your options. What are your options to get towards that goal? And the W is what will you do now to move forward on it?
I love that. I love that. And I also really like that you mentioned in your presentation about how when you're looking for a job or you want to join a company, and even if you're a consultant and you're working for a client or moving from client to client, to make sure that your values fit with that of the organization, because I do find that that is can be a big issue. So excuse my puppy in the background. She's waiting to, you know, go out for her lunch.
Oh, you can't hear it at all, don't worry. We can't hear.
And I see Carly posted in the chat that she loves the idea of having templates for change management. I agree with that as well. I think that's an excellent idea that you have. So anyone else want to come off mute? Ask a question? Okay, all right. Well, you know how to reach Heather if you'd like to find her on LinkedIn, and I hope you downloaded the quiz. I definitely did. If you need those links or anything, please reach out to one of us. We're happy to help you.
I did just think of a question. Sorry.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Is it okay? Are we allowed to share that quiz link elsewhere, and also this recording?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's going to be uploaded on YouTube, isn't it, Joan?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
yes.
great.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel, and we will put that out in an email to you. Actually, Gerline might be able to post it in the chat,
Okay.
and we'll upload the recording there. So
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
awesome. Thank you. And now I think we will hand it over to Gerline. She's going to take charge of the winner of the free 30-minute resume review, and we can wind up for the day. Thank you all for participating. I really enjoyed this, Heather. It was a great presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you, Heather. This was really helpful. A lot of areas I feel like you touched, which really me as in my job also we see every day, like how the top-down approach and things like those. Like we come across those when we are in the job, doing our work every day, and how it impacts our day-to-day work as a whole. So thank you so much for touching on areas that really impact your daily work as a professional.
You're welcome, Caroline. Yeah, lots of thinking points, isn't there?
A lot of them. And they're all good ones. I mean, really helpful for somebody going into the market, and even for somebody who's already a professional, but like you're there, but you sometimes don't think about this because you don't have the time. Really, a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Perfect.